Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode of Dear Crone Wrapped. To those of you joining us for the first time and are perhaps a bit confused, all you need to know is that my newsletter, the Valthakan Times, has an advice column, but you aren't writing to me. Instead, questions are answered by the crone, who pops up in the vast majority of my content because, as she is very fond of telling me, I don't do well as a solo act. Regardless, she answers about 40 questions a month, and I figured why don't we collect the best of the best and expound on them a little bit. Let's get started. Now, we get questions about love, people who need life advice, or have issues with the relationship with their parents, and I figured we'd dive right into it. Let's start with this anonymous write-in we got, saying, Dear Crone, I'm breaking up with my longtime boyfriend soon, and it's sad, but I'm devastated at the thought of never seeing his cat again. We've been together his whole life, and it breaks my heart to think of leaving him. I don't know how to cope. We often deal with many heavy topics in our write-ins, and sometimes it's nice to know that there are people exactly like you out there. With that being said, cats are primarily focused on their immediate needs in their environment, so as long as Kitty is being fed and pet and warm and safe, he's going to be fairly emotionally resilient to your absence. Whether or not that makes you feel good, I don't know. I unironically Googled, can cats feel betrayal? And the answer is no, of course not, because they're sweet, precious little idiot angel babies. Worry about your own pussy, because I'm assuming your ex didn't. Keeping up with the romance requests, we had an anonymous write-in asking, Dear Crone, any advice for people who are happy and comfy single but feel a pang in their heart when they see fictional couples and real? Not to mention the urge to climb a man, but none of them are hot enough to reach fictional standards. Just kidding. She's not. Longingly, Anonymous. I don't know how many of you have watched How I Met Your Mother, but one character introduces the hot versus crazy scale, which is a metric to assess the value in dating a woman. It's not something I inherently agree with, solely because I've met so many hot people who lack the requisite baseline personality necessary to be crazy, but what I do assess is the value of someone's company versus how much solitude they take from you. You are going to meet people who, despite being alone in a room with them, feel like you're in a crowd with your least favorite teachers from middle school. Simultaneously, you're going to meet people that you can be alone with. And all that this means is that you need to find someone whose company is worth the loss of your solitude. In Anonymous's case, you're missing something. But I'm going to let you in on a secret. The cost of dick is free. It's not hard to find a male partner. Now, finding one that's worth it, that's a different issue. But you can't let the fear of being alone or this random pang of desire guide you into the arms of someone who isn't worth it. In terms of comparing two fictional characters, this is a very common sentiment that we get written into us. You are going to meet someone that is going to remind you of a fictional character, and you are going to want to climb him like a tree. It is a canon event at this point. Now, let's move on to some family issues, because let's be honest, we all have them. Slow It Down wrote in and asked, Dear Crone, I've been seeing a guy for 2 years, and I like him a lot, obviously. But my family has a history of altogether too quick romances. My grandparents got married 5 months after they met. I want to take it slow because we're young, but I'm also feeling pressure from the family. How do I politely tell them to fuck off? A parent's job is to guide you through the world and eventually give you the tools to be able to do it yourself. At a certain point, it becomes a habit for them to let you know what they're thinking. I am very lucky to have a decent relationship with both my parents. I'm also fully aware that if any of their relationship advice was valid, they wouldn't have gotten divorced when I was 6. In order to politely inform your parents of their current ability to go fuck themselves, you need to be financially independent and not living under their roof. And once you've accomplished those 2 goals, welcome to the rest of your life of your parents telling you what to do anyway. It's endlessly frustrating. They're never going to stop, and it's a sign that they care about you. Your parents do not give you unasked for life advice because they don't think you're capable. They do it because it's their freaking job and they can't help themselves. That being said, I don't know the age of the person who wrote in. If you're 16, don't get fucking married. Unless his bank account has a 1 followed by about 8 zeros and he's too stupid to sign a prenup. That being said, get a prenup. And if you're 25, move out first and then worry about the marriage. It is a very common sentiment among young adults to take it personally when your parents tell you what to do. And they're not doing it because they think you're stupid. They're doing it because they're their precious, perfect angel child and they want you to be safe. Oh shit, I need to call my mom and apologize for a couple things. Anyway, once you've established your own life, you can just simply ignore them. You don't need to engage with that kind of advice. You don't need to listen to them in that regard, and it's totally fine to do so. The way you deal with parents as an adult is you call them often, you keep them apprised of what's going on in your life, and then you go out and live it. No fuck off necessary. Fair warning though, your parents typically have anything from 20 to 40 years of experience on you. Every once in a while, they might provide a pretty good piece of advice, so you have to remain vigilant to actually catch it. I'm as shocked as you are every time. Of course, everything I said was in regard to parents who step up and actually do their job, but we've had instances where that isn't the case. Too Much Father wrote in and said, Dear Crone and Daniel, thanks for remembering me. My absent father has shown up after 20 years. He left after literally a week of me being alive and is smothering me in being a dad while also not doing anything. And he keeps asking when my boyfriend and I are getting married. He wants to walk me down the aisle, but he only showed up in my life a few months ago. And my mom's boyfriend has been more of a dad, and I want him to walk me down when I get married. What do I do? This is one of those situations where the answer is fairly simple, but also extremely uncomfortable. Many people are going to say something along the lines of, oh, just tell him to go fuck himself disrespectfully and move on with your life. Which I don't agree with, solely because it is very understandable if you don't want him to leave again. However, that is a risk you may need to face if you want to properly honor your mom's boyfriend. There are a few ways it can go. I think it's safe to assume you're going to tell your father that he is not going to be walking you down the aisle whenever your wedding may be. Make no mistake in what I'm saying, I don't think he deserves that honor. But for the people who may argue that forgiveness is a virtue, I also agree, but I can also point out that you have every right to protect the child that he walked out on. Regardless, let's assume the best in your father. In that case, he is fully aware that what he did was wrong, he understands why he's not receiving that honor, and he still wants to show up to your wedding anyway. If that's the case, it's a sign of self-reflection, it's a sign of growth, and it means that potentially there is a future fragile relationship you can develop with your father if you want to. There's also the chance that he is hurt, he is offended, and he uses that excuse to walk out on you a second time. In which case,
kill him.
No, you've saved yourself the trouble. And that does not mean that it's not going to be painful or traumatic or suck, but it means that you've saved yourself the time that you would have put into trying to reconnect a relationship that was never going to work in the first place. It's very unfortunate you may need to deal with the emotional fallout of a situation that was entirely his decision to make, but sticking to your boundaries is the best way to enjoy your wedding, whenever that may be. Last time we did this, I had categories like best romance write-in, best life advice. I think we know enough about what people are writing in for me to make that unnecessary, but I am introducing a new category today called What the Fuck Do You Mean? And I think the most titular example of this will come from Becca's write-in, who wrote, Dearest Crone and Daniel, one of my friends, who was like a brother to me, ditched me because someone told him that I was only friends with him to get close to his mother. Now, this isn't true, but he didn't believe me even though we were friends for a year before I even met the lovely woman. I'm still dealing with it. But my main problem is trying to return the books that his mother lent me. I reached out to him asking if he wanted them in person or if he just wanted me to drop them off at his house, and he asked for time to decide. It has been a little over a month and still no word. How can I solve this without causing any unnecessary problems? Scorchingly lukewarm take, you don't owe the benefit of the doubt to someone who won't extend that same benefit to you. If someone ditches you, ghosts you, blocks you, that's the end of you needing to contact them forever. But I do have to ask, is his mom an absolute smoke show? She's gotta be, like, driving the MILF-mobile, right? Disney Pixar mom, snatched waist kind of look. There's no way this is the first time this sort of situation has popped up for this guy, and there's no way that he's not reacting to a historical precedent. I am going to point out that you getting cut off because of accusations that you're into his mom and attempting to maintain contact because you want to return books to his mom doesn't read as sincerely as you want it to. Just enjoy your free books. Alrighty, I want you all to know, we don't just receive write-ins, we often receive follow-ups from people who've had their questions answered previously. And this one I have to give the Whiplash Award, because Lovefool wrote in and said, Dearest Crone and Daniel, I'm in a long-distance relationship with my perfect man. What can we do to keep it from becoming stale? We're both broke CC, so traveling isn't an option right now. First off, I have no idea what CC means, and a part of me is worried it's slang that I missed the creation of. The last word I learned was cunty, and I plan on using that until I die. But about a week later, Lovefool wrote in again and said this. Dearest Crone and Daniel, he broke up with me. You know, when life gives you lemons, do lemonade. Well, life roundhouse kicked us in the face so badly that a relationship wasn't viable, even less a long-distance one. We remained friends, but I started to wonder if I'll find someone who loves me unconditionally. Most partners break up with me because, quote, I'll be too expensive long-term, while referring to my health issues. I'll love myself first, but damn, it's sad when they beg for an opportunity just to say that. Lovefool, all I can really say is, that's rough, buddy, but I do want to commend your mindset in the second write-in because it shows that you're in the exactly correct place to move on. I'm sure you've been offered countless meaningless platitudes from very well-meaning friends and family talking about, oh, he'll see through all your flaws one day and sweep you off your feet, despite the fact that you don't have flaws, you have health issues. Very different things. But the truth is, those kind of circumstances are not deterrents to people who actually want to invest in you. And while it sucks that someone is unwilling to do so when you really like them, it serves as a pretty decent filter for those that you couldn't work out with in the first place. You already said you were going to go out and do it, so, love yourself, focus on yourself, and the truth is, love, I don't think you're any kind of fool. The final write-in we're covering today is another individual who I really want to commend for their attitude and their behavior, and it belongs to Tired of Being Sad, who said, Dearest Crone, the last 2 years have been absolute hell for me. So many things went wrong that I stopped being able to find anything worth living for. I'm pretty sure I survived solely due to the efforts of my cat and spite. Now I am trying to remind myself that there are, in fact, good things in the world and things worth living for. So far, I focused on finding one thing each day that makes me smile and taking a picture. What else do you recommend to help me remember that I can be happy? All I can really say is fuck yeah. The decision to be happy is probably the most vital thing that you will choose in your entire adult life. Because it is a choice does not mean that there are some days where it's not harder to choose to be happy or impossible, but it means that one day you can choose to feel happy again. Gamzeya avor, this too shall pass. Tired of being sad, you inspired the hell out of our Discord. We have a new channel, The Warm Fuzzies, where it's people's job to post the things that bring them joy every day. In terms of what else you can do, it's always the stuff that other people say. It's going outside, it's getting in touch with nature, it's sleeping, it's working out, it's avoiding social media. This isn't real. What's real is your support group and the people around you who love you and are happy that you're there. Personally, one of the biggest things that helps me is taking cleaning days. I'm not on my phone, I'm not watching TV, I'm listening to music, and I'm tidying up my apartment. It's the simple pleasure of a small task done properly, and you deserve to live in a clean environment, and it helps keep you happy. The best thing you can do for yourself is keep doing what you do and know that your decision to be happy has made a lot of other people happy as well. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Any of the write-ins mentioned will have their full editions linked in the description below. Be sure to subscribe here and to the Valthakan Times, and if you're curious about our premium newsletter content, we have a link to a free trial in the description as well. I'll see you next time.